I've been threatening to make this video both on another survival channel and also on various blogs for years. It being the holidays, there's a lot of projects that I want to get going on for the homestead, but it being the holidays, cash is kind of, tied up in presents and all that. So the next big projects will probably be after January 1st. So instead, I'm going to do this video, which I've got people who've been asking me to make it and also people who I've just been threatening to make it at. So let's get into this. One of the things that I feel is a good idea for both survival and for homesteading is to have a backup communication platform that allows you to communicate electronically without having to rely on cell phones. There's a couple different reasons, not the least of which being if you're in an area where you don't have great cell service, or if the grid goes down, it'd be handy to have something where you can communicate remotely, and that's something I'm very much into. I am a radio nerd. That's what we're going to talk about. Radios. Them things. Not the beer. The beer is not a radio. The first kind of radio that most people have at least some childhood experience with in the United States are what's known as FRS radios. I don't have one. They're the blister pack radios that you see for sale even at places like Target, Walmart, various sporting goods shops. You can just buy them straight off the rack. There's no licensing. It's family radio service. Do these radios work? Yes, absolutely. And kids can have fun with them. You can hand a couple FRS radios to the kids and they have fun with the walkie-talkies. If you are only concerned about getting maybe quarter to half a mile of distance, FRS radios are cheap. You can just buy those, no license. You don't really need a lot of training or research to use them correctly. They have like 22 channels nowadays, and you just choose a channel and you talk by pressing a button. It's pretty simple. The next kind of radio that most people have played with, might have played with, is CB, Citizen Band. These radios are also not super high power. Turn on my squelch. They're not super high power. That said, CB can actually transmit really, really far compared to some of the other options I'm going to talk about in certain conditions. Citizen Band is what most truckers have used for decades. It's decent when it comes to audio quality. Let's see if I can find a channel with some action on it. I'm just going to cut to the chase. That is the problem with CB. CB is so prevalent throughout the United States and has been for decades. Everybody uses it. You're not supposed to use illegally, well, that's obvious, illegally high-powered, boosted, amplified CB transmitters. I'm pretty sure I just recognized that voice on Channel 6. I am in New Mexico. That is a guy illegally broadcasting, I believe, out of New Jersey. And the FCC isn't doing anything to stop him. CB has become basically, as somebody very astutely said, if you've played World of Warcraft, CB has become Baron's chat almost nationwide. There's a lot of shit talkers and people breaking the rules and racism and silliness, to the point that for most things, CB is almost unusable nowadays. Now, if you live super remote and you find the channels that have these illegal boosted idiots, you can skip to the other channels. Like Channel 9 is a nationwide emergency channel. That does not mean CBs can necessarily transmit nationwide. It just means Channel 9, if you're in an area that it's remote, but it has emergency services, you've been high centered up in the middle of a 4x4 trail, you can sometimes get on Channel 9, hit the button, and like emergency services might be on there. Or somebody might be listening to it, they'll hear you, and then they can call for emergency services for you. I don't hate CB. I mean, I have one. I actually had two for a while. It's real rugged. It lasts a long time on the batteries that are in most HTs because the batteries are huge. For actual usage, it's okay. Like if you wanted to call for help or contact a trucker, you could, I think it's non-emergent channel 9 or 19, I forget. Doesn't really matter. But you can usually get some kind of contact on CB if you're real lucky. Even truckers don't really use it as much today. Well, the next option is one that I've been really hardcore into since about COVID. GMRS. GMRS does technically require a license. GMRS shares all the same channels with FRS. What does this mean? This means you can use a GMRS radio to talk to people who are using FRS radios and people on GMRS radios. GMRS is higher powered, and in various situations, this does get a lot farther than just a quarter to half a mile. I've used simplex in the right situations to go very far. Simplex is when you just talk radio to radio. It uses what's basically called line of sight. If you're standing at ground level and say, I can see that house, somebody out on that yard also has a GMRS radio, they can almost certainly talk to me. But what if somebody was up there on that mountain peak? Well, if they could see all the way down here and they had a radio just like this, I've tested this, we would be able to talk just fine. That's about a good probably 8 miles as the crow flies. I've actually used simplex GMRS to go much farther than that. Because if you've got 2 points like the top of that mountain, and you had somebody on the top of the mountain all the way across the Tularosa Basin, which is about 50 miles, yeah, we did that too. It was fun. GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service, I believe that's what it's for, does require a license. There is no test for this license. It's like buying a fishing license. You just pay $35 and they issue you a call sign. It's in an FCC database. You are supposed to use your call sign when using GMRS every 20 minutes or less. Does everyone do that? No. The other really cool thing that GMRS allows is you can program in repeaters. A repeater is a tower with a radio device at the top that you broadcast to it with your radio, and it immediately blasts it out from where that thing up top is. This increases your distance greatly. When I was living in Dallas, Dallas actually has 2 of the most powerful repeaters I've seen in the United States. I was able to hit that one from 60 miles south and it was broadcasting my signal again another 30 or 40 miles north. So repeaters are fun. You can talk to other people on it. Actually,
we'll see if that's up there. Who knows? I've seen snow down here. I've been down here long enough to see it was below zero.
this is a repeater I have programmed into it. That beep tells me that I'm listening to the repeater.
Take care. Give me a shout.
Anyway, at the same time, for emergency services, GMRS isn't great if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for a backup way to contact essentially 911. CB has channel 9, and GMRS doesn't really have that. It doesn't have a channel that everybody uses to listen to and, you know, call for help if they need it. What do we use it for? GMRS around the property. If I'm in the back area of the property and she's in the house, she doesn't have to yell out the back door, and she doesn't have to, you know, call me on my cell phone. I can just put on a radio. GMRS, FRS, and CB do not require any grid to be up to run. This is why I think they're really, really good for emergencies and survivalist purposes, and they're really handy to have around a homestead. Ham radio. These have really high power, high usability options. These have functions they can do that are far above and beyond any of these other radios. You can, on certain frequencies, bounce them off the actual magnetosphere of the Earth and talk to people in other countries. Sometimes. You also have to have the right rig. A GMRS radio is probably gonna, just a basic entry-level one, probably gonna run you about $50, $60 for a good one. For a good entry-level one. Ham radios, the sky's the limit. I actually know somebody who has a $17,000 ham unit at his house, which he uses to talk to Australia on a fairly regular basis, and the International Space Station. Ham radio shares a lot with GMRS. GMRS is basically, by many people, considered ham light. If you like what GMRS offers and you get into that, but you wish that you could do even more with it, you can get a ham license. There's multiple different levels of ham certification, and each one allows you to do different things. The licenses are tested, and the thing nobody ever talks about is they are considerably more expensive. I am considering getting my ham license, my operator's license, but it's not a priority. Not when I could just pay $35 for GMRS for 10 years. And the final one I'm going to talk about, I've been seeing a lot of ads for these in the last year. It all started when I saw an ad for Rapid radios. These little 4G devices. And as soon as I read up on what they are, I was not interested. Then I was sent a pair of these to play with for free, and I decided, what the heck, I'll see what it's about.
2K280, 042 Lochin, successful, enter the group, 2K28004.
Rapid radios, I know there's one called Next Comms or something like that. There's a bunch of companies playing ads on YouTube for these where they claim that these are emergency radios. They specifically say emergency radios that are nationwide or even global, and you can use them to talk to somebody who's 2,000 miles away, like they're just around the corner. And yeah, that's true. The first thing that I take huge exception with is this is not a radio. It's not a radio. This is a 4G LTE unit that's like a cell phone that can only talk to one other cell phone. These two are paired. They can only talk to each other, period. If I wanted to add one more handset, then I would have to buy the handset, call the company's customer service, and they would have to add the extra handset onto these two handsets for them to be able to talk. This is not a radio. A radio does not require a grid. These are using the old 4G LTE grid that's all over the United States and much of the world. Can they talk to each other from very long distances? Absolutely, because you're just calling each other like on a cell phone. In the event of a disaster or emergency where the grid is down, the cellular grid, the power grid, and the cellular grid, these become doorstops. If you take these up into the hills and you're driving through canyons and they have no cell signal, this is a paperweight. Now, the audio quality on them, I will note, really, really good. The battery life, outstanding. These particular ones have a metal frame, case, whatever you want to call it, body, and a decently long battery life. But it's not a radio. And I really don't like these companies keep trying to do the survival crowd, prey upon your fears thing, and call these survival radios. They're not. They're just plain not. There are plenty of ways I think you could use these, and in fact, just for around the property where we get cell signal, yeah, I might give these a whack the next time that I got to work on something on the back half of the property. But they're not radios. Most of the radios I just showed you can pick up NOAA, the Emergency Alert Services for the United States, mostly for weather, but it can be activated for even bigger things. Nope. One of the problems we have at the Homestead is that we don't actually get clear signal on NOAA. Hello, this is James from the future. Actually, this is the James that is about a week after I took the original video. I was editing it and then I remembered the NOAA bit. It turns out I kept testing it with my CB radio. For some reason, my CB radio does not get really good reception on the NOAA channels here. However, my other radios...
At Lubbock, it was mostly sunny, with a temperature of 51. At Midland, it was partly sunny, with a temperature of 73. Here is the borderland weather synopsis, updated at 10:19 a.m. Mountain Standard.
Yeah, I went and checked after that first video. My other radios all pick up NOAA Channel 3 here just fine. And since I can't recall if I went into NOAA correctly in the first video I took, basically the NOAA org of the United States, for, as long as our current administration will allow them to survive, has a system throughout the nation. Almost anywhere in the United States, there are 11 different channels that have that robot voice broadcasting automatically 24/7. You can just tune into it to listen to the forecast. However, when there is an emergency, a weather emergency, or even something worse, the U.S. government uses those channels to let the public know. The public that know how to use these kinds of radios. Back to the James from the past. Anywhere in the United States, you can usually find at least one of the 11 NOAA stations. These little 4G LTE things, they don't get NOAA. You cannot listen to any other frequencies on them except the one frequency that they use. You cannot talk to strangers. You cannot use them to call for help. The ones I was sent do have a neat little flashlight on them, but so does almost every single radio made nowadays. If you're looking for a survival radio, I would say definitely check out CB, FRS, GMRS, or even ham. If you're looking for something just to talk on using a cellular network, then again, I would recommend finding one of the companies that doesn't charge monthly, like Rapid Radio. Rapid Radio requires you to pay them every month. These two that were sent to me, I will link to in down below. I will link all of these with affiliate links down below. And the ones that they sent me from Amazon come with a lifetime of service. They are a little more expensive, but it pays for itself if you were to go that route. Personally, I don't think these 4G LTE devices are really that useful at all. Also, I don't feel super strongly about this. In our last video, I did use an AI generated funny track of monks chanting ridiculous lyrics about digging in the ground, and 3 different people took an exception to that. So I'm just not going to use AI music anymore. I did it as a joke. I thought it was funny, but I get it. The AI thing is very divisive right now. And I'll just stick to, the regular music that I use for the backgrounds, which is a bunch of license-free background music that I've picked up off of various websites. It's almost Christmas, guys. It's almost whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope everybody has good holidays, and we might put out another video before the first of the year, might not. Everybody out there, be cool.